Good evening, members. I'm Councillor Brian Clark, the Chairman of Maidstone Joint Transport Board, and I'm pleased to welcome you to this meeting of the Board. This meeting will be broadcast live and recorded for playback on the Council's YouTube channel. Will anyone else be recording the proceedings? I ask so that people at the meeting will know if this will be happening. If the fire alarm sounds during the meeting, please remain seated and members of the Democratic Services team will assess the situation and give you further instructions on the evacuation of the building if necessary. Apologies have been received from councillors, item 1, apologies. Apologies have been received from councillors Cooling, Emberson, Hickson, Kemcaran, Rodwell and Black. Are there any other apologies? Oh, I'm sorry. I apologise. Councillor Black is present. Item 2, substitute members. Can any substitutes present state their attendance, please?
Councillor Jones for Councillor Rodwell.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Oh, sorry, and
Councillor English for Councillor Hickson.
Thank you, Councillor English. Item 3, urgent items. Are there any? There are no urgent items. Item 4, notification of visiting members. Oh, sorry, I've already done. Oh, sorry, visiting. No, I haven't. Sorry, visiting members. If you come up to the mic.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Russell, not intending to speak, just here to support item 9, as I'm the ward councillor for Marden and Yalding Ward. Thank you.
Councillor Summersgill, also Marden and Yalding Ward, to support item 9 but not to speak.
Thank you. Item 5, disclosures by members and officers. Are there any disclosures by members or officers? Okay. Item 6, disclosures of lobbying. Are there any disclosures of lobbying? Item 12, the Maidstone Joint Transportation. Oh, sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Item 7, to consider whether any items should be taken in private because of the possible disclosure of exempt information. I should move that all items will be taken in public. Is that agreed? Thank you. Item 8, minutes of the meeting held on the 9th of July 2025. Are there any comments on the accuracy of the minutes? I move that the minutes, oh, sorry, I do apologise.
Thank you, Chairman. On page 3, maybe me, but I don't know, it says under the A229 road, Linton Lewes, it was outlined that the section of the A229 road between Linton and Lewes had been assessed for a reduction of 40 to 30 with the specified criteria, but that it was recommended to retain the existing speed limit of 30. But you wouldn't be reducing from 40 to 30 if it was already 30, would you?
Okay, I understand the point. We will amend that.
Okay, thank you.
Questions on the minutes? Okay, I move that the minutes of the meeting held at the 9th of July 2025 be approved as a correct record and signed. Is that agreed? Mm-hmm. Item 9, presentation of petitions. There is one petition this evening, which will be presented by Alison Green, Chair of Nettlestead Parish Council. Alison, you have 5 minutes to present your petition.
Thank you. I'm the Chair of Nettlestead Parish Council, and I'm here representing the people of Nettlestead and other users of our village hall, playground and the local preschool, all of whom regularly use the zebra crossing. Some of the councillors and members of the JTB may already be aware of the ongoing problem of speeding and failure to stop at the current zebra crossing on the B2015 Maidstone Road in Nettlestead. Following a number of near misses where cars that had stopped at the crossing were actually shunted over it after being hit from behind by speeding vehicles, the parish council, supported by local residents, set up a petition to ask KCC to upgrade the crossing to a signalised crossing in an attempt to prevent further near misses or anything worse happening. I'm sure that none of us wants to wait until a fatality occurs before any action is taken. With over 1,000 signatures on the petition, I think that the level of concern is apparent. As a parish council, we have been working with our borough and county councillors and KCC to make enhancements to the existing crossing. These have mainly been in an attempt to improve visibility and awareness of the crossing and have included repainting the white stripes, changing the old style Belisha beacons to new, brighter LED versions. And there have also been discussions about lowering the height of the flag on top of the bus stop, again to improve visibility of the Belisha beacons. Whilst we welcome these small changes, they unfortunately haven't had any noticeable effect on driver speed or behaviour, and we still receive regular updates from the preschool and others stating that traffic is still failing to stop for those waiting to cross, or even whilst crossing, with some drivers also still overtaking cars that have actually stopped. They're just overtaken. None of us here today wants there to be a serious or even fatal accident at this crossing. And the people here are the people who are in a position to make the decisions to do something proactive and to help hopefully prevent this. I'm also pleased to say that we've already been engaging positively with KCC Highways, and I'm aware that discussions are being held about the possibility of slightly relocating the crossing and making it signalised. The purpose of our petition and me being here today is to highlight and reinforce the concerns of the residents of Nettlestead and those who regularly use the crossing in the hope that the momentum to make this change is not lost. As I was telling some of my colleagues at work the other day, in my corporate life, I've made many presentations asking for capital spend, but this one is probably the most important that I've ever made because the outcome is much more important. It may potentially save somebody's life. So to summarise, there is a serious issue at this crossing in its current form. Accidents have happened there. The police are aware. KCC is aware. The relatively minor changes that have been made have not made a difference. There needs to be significant change made to the crossing, as no one wants a fatality to happen, and this is the opportunity to make that change. Thank you.
Thank you. According to this council's petition scheme, the board has two options. We could either consider it to be this evening. We can consider it this evening without a report, or refer it to the next meeting of the board without discussion, when it will be included with an officer's report. If this board agrees, I would be happy to refer the petition without discussion to the next meeting, where it can be presented with an officer's report. Councillor English.
Well, I don't think there's much point discussing it twice, which is what would happen if we discuss it tonight and then we discuss it again with an officer's report. So, although I certainly don't want to delay things unduly, I do think we need a report and we should have one.
Thank you, Councillor English. So I'm proposing that this will go back to KCC and be presented with an officer's report at the next meeting. Sorry.
It was just a very quick comment that I hope it comes back with a positive, supportive report and not a negative batting it out because it doesn't meet requirements and rules and regulations. So it's just a comment I would like to make.
We do have a certain level of control over how we decide to progress it as a board. So, but your point is taken well.
Super, thank you.
So, Councillor Jeffrey.
I absolutely back that call, and I wonder whether or not I could propose that you send in a supportive letter alongside the petition when you ask for the officer's report. Someone would like to second that?
From a procedure, so this really the questions are more to do with procedure. I would prefer. I just think it would make it much more straightforward if we take the report or we ask for the report to come back to us and do all of our debating, and we can give our impressions from that point. If members agree, is that agreed? Thank you. Item 10, question and answer sessions from local residents. There are no questions from local residents. Item 11, questions and answers from members. There is one question from a member to the chairman. And the member wasn't able to be here. This is from Councillor Kahili, which I'll read. In light of the road chaos and misery that most of the residents of Maidstone have been experiencing these last few weeks, what steps are the JTB committed to taking to promote effective and meaningful discussions and actions between KCC and MBC regarding the issues around the severity and genuine necessity of emergency roadworks that are affecting the roads with such continuing frequency, and assure residents that such requests are being verified and monitored? While I cannot speak for the whole board, as chairman, I understand the concerns regarding the ongoing emergency roadworks and the significant impact they are having on our residents. As such, I would like to propose that when we reach the work programme, we will request the inclusion of an additional item to explore the strategic aspects of highway planning for road closures and how these are communicated and managed. Is that agreed? Thank you.
I make a point. It's not a question, and I didn't realise questions had to be handed in beforehand. But when the first agenda came out, there was an item relating to Sandymount Bearsted. That suddenly disappeared. I since found out from Emily Rogers, who is the engagement officer, and she stated officers would like to revisit how the comments and objections have been processed, which doesn't make any sense to me at all. But we are going to discuss this with her when we have a HIP meeting in the next week or so. But this was sort of finalised back in May and June. We were told it would go on to the Joint Transport Board agenda in October. And then suddenly, at the last minute, it's withdrawn. You know, they've had 3 months to sort anything out that needed sorting out. I was hoping to put the Sandymount folder up on a shelf, done, dusted. Forget about it. When's the next joint transport meeting? How long have we got to wait? Thank you, Chairman.
So this was discussed as part of the agenda setting for this meeting, and we were told by county council officers that it was not ready for this meeting. That's the information that I have at this point. We will seek to have that come back at the next meeting.
3 months and it's not ready.
Item 12, the work programme. Coming back from the question from Councillor Kahili, I'm proposing that we put on the work programme a high level strategic look at highways planning on these types of matters, including how they would schedule and how communication would be, and manage emergency works. There are a number of issues that we've been facing, and we're facing them as of next Monday on the Lewes Road at the Wheat Sheaf, as many people may be aware or may not be aware. There are a number of processes that I feel that fall down when we have these major road closures, and I would like at this point to put that on the work programme to come back as a paper. I'll be proposing that from the chair, seconded by Councillor Jeffrey. Councillor Cook.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm not objecting to us having a look at this because I think hopefully we might find something new that might come forward. But I think we've been kind of going round in circles for many moons on the problems associated with road closures, particularly as a result of the utilities closing roads under emergency powers, which they can do without any reference to the Highways Authority, but they have a duty to inform the Highways Authority within a certain period of time. I think therein lies the problem, because KCC, as the Highways Authority, are there to provide coordination, and you can't coordinate what you don't know. And so we need to. So a high-level strategic look at this, I'm fine about. I would like to focus on another aspect of that, if you'd be happy to take this into your recommendation, and that is the application and the way that that diversions are managed and operated. Because I think if the diversions and the way that they are operated and managed was better, with all due respect, Chairman, I think we wouldn't have quite the same problems that we do with the road closures. If the road has to be closed, the road has to be closed. But then there needs to be proper coordination, and we need to have sensible diversions, which are properly signposted. And then when the diversion is finished, somebody needs to come along and take the signs away. So I'd really like that to be part of the. And if I could move that, maybe as a slight amendment.
I'm more than happy to include that.
Thank you.
To give you a sense of some of the issues that we've been facing. We knew about this from social media a couple of days ago. I spoke to the bus companies today. One of the bus companies said that we will be doing our standard, the same diversion that we've been doing earlier this year, which is Linton Cross Roads, 5 Wents to the Wheatsheaf. New Venture said, we've only just heard about it. We haven't got anything to give you at this point, and there's no signage on the Lewes Road at this point. We've known about it for two days, and other than us raising this with residents, I found all of the schools in the area today, and none of them seem to have been updated, even though for 2 days we've known about this. So I do think the diversions are very, very important, because at the end of the day, last time we had road ahead closed at Linton Cross Roads, and the HGVs just thought it might be a side road. It took us quite a long time to get spotters, to get 3 signs there to say road ahead closed, the A229 is closed. So I think that there's a number of things we can all discuss as part of this, and I hope we can all give feedback.
Chairman, if you're happy to take that on board as part of that, then I'm more than happy with that, because I think that's as important of mitigating some of the damage that's done through the road closures as anything else. So thank you.
And I think that because we've had this in May and we're seeing very similar issues right now, I mean, literally calling the schools and saying the school wasn't officially informed, but we did see something on social media. I think we need to come up with a strategy that goes beyond this. And it can't just be about one road closure. It has to be across the borough, because each village has got the unique issues when there is a diversion. Councillor English.
I mean, it's not as if KCC haven't been told about this issue with diversion signs not being put out and plans not being put into place. Councillor Springett, rather nobly and perhaps rashly, offered to go out in a high-vis jacket in Bearsted and stand in the middle of the road and direct traffic if they didn't get it sorted out, perhaps fearful that the death of a high-profile Maidstone Borough Council trying to sort out their issues motivated them to actually put some signs out, but lo and behold, when they would decided to do the same road in the opposite direction, once again, no signs. So you would have thought new contractors being used, but yes, you can understand there's problems with the changeover. But once it's been pointed out half a dozen times by county and borough members across Maidstone, you would have thought someone somewhere would be learning some lessons, because this isn't rocket science or high strategy, it's basic competence, and whatever else we can agree on or disagree on, I would hope we would want to see council staff using basic competence in organising their duties.
Thank you, Councillor English. An officer, Barbara Westmacott, has raised a hand on the video call, and I will just say that we did have a report come back to us some time ago. I think it was about a year and a half ago, and it was actually presented by Barbara. So it's not as if we haven't got something which we can work with, but it's just that we are seeing some very unique issues that are coming up again and again. If I can just go to the officer and I'll come back to you.
Good evening. Hello again. I've actually been asked to attend this evening to discuss the loose road issue. I don't know if you want to do it now as it's come up, or whether you want to move on and put it into the works programme later. But that's specifically why I was asked to attend this evening. I take your point about diversions. The information that is given from us to the contractors does take on board all of the advice that we are given. However, the issue is that they don't always do what we ask. And that then can cause problems. Also, people, rightly or wrongly, decide that they want to open a road or move diversion signs of their own accord. We have one person that covers the borough for everything. So unfortunately, sometimes we're not everywhere at once. But as I've said before, we're more than happy to receive emails, telephone calls, etc., and let us know, and we will go and attend these things. I welcome your report, and I'm more than happy to work with you on that going forward. But loose road is the priority that we as a team, my team, currently have, because it is so high profile. And we weren't aware of any issues until Thursday last week. That's us, and neither were SGN. So, I mean, I can go into more details on it if you'd like me to, or we can wait until the Highway Works programme later.
I think we probably should take this offline, because we are looking at this from a strategic perspective. I welcome the fact that you've got a lot of experience here, Barbara, and you'll certainly be key to that coming back to us. And I think we've got an issue in South Maidstone, but I think that we really do want to make sure we get something that everyone can use across the borough. So I appreciate your thoughts, Councillor Thomas.
Firstly, if I can just correct the chair on one item, to say all schools weren't aware of it, I had a conversation with the head teacher this morning, and they were well aware of the Lewes Road closure, and they're already starting to plan for it. And as member for KCC Maidstone South, I'm working hard with them on it. We'll also notice some of the issues which have been raised by members of this committee or this board. Item 4 is touching on the lessons learned from the A229 road closure. I am raising a question to full council with regard to getting lessons learned on that myself, and I'm aware that officers are already aware that we're going to be discussing this, and I'm hoping that the outcome of that question to full council will look at the emergency procedures that led into it, so we cover all of those issues. We give every member the opportunity to discuss it, likewise local businesses. We bring in the bus companies, because whilst they've got a duty of care to a point, the likelihood is going to happen on a lot of cases is there's no turning in the Lewes Road, therefore they won't provide it. So we're already seeking to address a shuttle bus service so that we don't let our residents down. The other question that I would like to raise with people is when we're considering items on the work programme is to try and prevent the misinformation that goes out there. So I've made a request to the cabinet member and to the officers that they make me fully aware with the relationship manager of their work programmes when there are likely to be any delays, so that we can keep the public collectively fully informed with the issues, so that we take the heat out of it and the workmen and women can then get on and complete the works as planned and as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Councillor Springer.
Thank you. I'm not sure if this could be brought in as part of the report we're going to ask for in the work programme, or whether it needs to be a separate report. We had two issues. One is roadworks for repairs or utilities, and the other one is when National Highways shut the M20, which also causes a bit of chaos. And up until relatively recently, National Highways works in its own little silo and KCC works in its own little silo. And when I first started battling the issue I stood in the road for at 11:30 at night, directing the traffic, was that National Highways closed the motorway. Half the traffic went onto Kent Highways roads, but they said, that's not our problem, they're Kent's road. And when I spoke to Kent Highways, they went, that's not our problem, it's National Highways that have shut the motorway. And neither were talking to the other. So I'm wondering if there is the opportunity to ask whether there is any coordination between Kent Highways and National Highways when the motorway is shut.
There
and
is.
whether or not there's a lead officer that deals with that, or whether they're still not talking to each other.
So I wonder, given we're looking at this at a strategic level and road closures are killing the borough, I wonder if we start this where we look at all options, and if officers come back and they say, well, that would be better also in a different part, we can split it later. I think it would be better to take that point on board, because it would be foolish for us to look at a certain level of utility failures, or not necessarily failures, but challenges to us, and then find that once we go through the report and we get things in place, there's something else that comes along that could have been considered at the same time. Councillor Ford.
Thank you. I was listening to Barbara there, and she said sometimes they don't listen to where they're supposed to put the signs and everything. Can we not fine them on that? Just a question.
We do.
We can.
We do, yes, we can. However, the levels of fines at the moment are not financially challenging enough to drive compliance at the speed that we would like it to. However, there is plans afoot to raise the level of those fines to a much more painful level to further help us to drive that compliance. I can, within the report, give you links to where you can find more information about that, and also see it for you, because it's a very big document and I don't particularly want to hand that over to you in its entirety, because you'll be searching for the bits that you need for hours on end. So I'm more than happy to have that come over, and I will answer that within the report if you'd like me to.
Yes, it's a good tool. There's definitely been times that I've experienced road closures which weren't authorised. The licence agreement didn't allow for what the contractors were trying to do. And on one instance, we had an issue with gas, and there was no signage to say who to call. So I know from experience that officers have been involved, and they've been involved in giving fines, which have changed behaviour. But maybe we need to look at that, review that, and make sure that we have the level that's required to create the incentive. But I think that all of that
is already being reviewed at central government level.
Okay. So I think that we should consider it as part of this report, and then see where that splits out, if it does split out towards the government. Thank you, Barbara. Separately, I will mention the first item on the work programme. Sorry, before we go on, we proposed and we seconded. Is everyone agreed for that to come onto the work programme? Thank you. So coming back to item number 1. This is our main transport mitigation in our local plan. Most people in this room, including the member of the public, will be aware that we collected is around about 14.8 million from the government and from it was between the government, CELEP, and developers. We've got a standing item on our agenda, and unfortunately that's been breached this time because there is no item because officers weren't able to give a report. And this is something which is of huge concern to our borough. It started off as the mitigation with the local plan for housing in 2015. It's continued into the local plan update. Some of these junctions, KCC officers have already been saying that they won't be promoting them, and yet it's still made it as KCC's mitigation for housing in the local plan update. So we're in a shocking position with this. Officers have chosen not to give an update, which I'm very frustrated about, and I will be working between now and the next meeting to try to see if we can get that update. This is public money. It was publicly disclosed what it was we collected, and we've even had up until the pandemic, we were reporting the numbers for each of the schemes. So. And some of that money was even potentially at risk. So it was from Section 106. Some of it will have timeouts, but we just haven't, as a board, had any exposure to that. I think that's really shameful, and I will certainly be striving to bring that update to both the board and the member that asked a question at the last board meeting, who has had no response to our request for that response. Councillor English.
At the risk of sounding sympathetic to Kent County Council, I must express some degree of sympathy. The county officers did put, in my view, quite a well-considered proposal for the Linton Crosswell roads to the previous administration's cabinet, which was turned down, I think, on a vote 3-2 of the cabinet, as there was an absence for that meeting. So, risk of over extrapolating, I suspect the KCC were not delighted to have their fingers burnt, and a proposal that they were prepared to go forward with sent back to them by the cabinet and NBC at the time. So that may partially explain some of the diffidence in that area, I think. It's a particular shame because, leaving aside all the transport issues, the Linton Crossroads area and that section of Lewes Roads suffers from significant public safety issues. So there are other reasons, leaving aside the planning and policy and congestion issues, to go forward with that scheme if we possibly can.
Your points are well made, and it actually brings me on to something else that I would like to add to the work programme. And we're a little bit constrained in terms of timing, and that is the strategic seal bid that will be coming forward from KCC. The timing of the next JTB actually goes beyond the point at which the seal bid closes, but I would like that to come to our committee so we can see what is being bid on as part of the of Kent Highways. Was this about the seal bid or about the junction?
Thank you, Chair. This is to do with item 1. As you're well aware, we did discuss this item, and we've agreed with the cabinet member and KCC officers, and with invites going to some borough council officers, to discuss the background to this report so that we can bring it as a substantive item to the next committee for proper due consideration. So, and I know that the invites are going out, so if you and I have been invited to attend, so if we can ensure that we comply and get that as soon as possible.
Yeah, well, I'd reiterate the fact that I feel this is public money and we should be reporting this in a public item.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, but what they've given us is the opportunity to discuss through the issues, to give us some potential alternatives so it can be properly discussed and debated at this point.
Okay. I mean, the frustration of this board is the fact that this type of answer has happened time after time after time. And of course, I want to engage. I want to get whatever we can get back to this board. But earlier discussions mentioned confidentiality and the fact that some of these figures can't be disclosed. And I see no reason why there would be any confidentiality. So I'm just expressing the frustration of the board.
Right. But that's why we were offered the opportunity and we insisted upon it, so that if there are due exempt reasons why it can't, we'll understand that, so that it comes back in a form that we can have an open discussion about it. So the whys and wherefores, we are where we are. We've been given the opportunity with KCC, the cabinet member and the officers. So my recommendation is that you and I take advantage of that, so we can then answer questions from the public. We can present it to Luz and others that have asked the question of us, and it can be debated properly, and it gives us the opportunity to consider other pathways when we know what the situation is.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I accept that's the situation. I accept that's the situation. But obviously, as a board, we're frustrated because since July, we had no verbal update on even some of the matters that could have been discussed. Okay, so we will attempt to get that information back to the next board. I do want to come back to this notion of the SIL bid, because at the moment we don't have any mechanism for the SIL bid to come back to members of the JTB. Although the timing is not good, I think that it would be wise for us to have the information come back to us. And for all we know, if there's any delays in that process, we might even be able to have an involvement in the discussion prior to the bid. So I'd like to propose that we have that as a work item on the agenda going forward. Is that seconded? Seconded. Members agree? Thank you. I agree, but the information is not available from KCC. But no, I agree. It will be an information. That's right. But of course, if anything is delayed in the process, you never know. Anything can happen with highways, but you're right. I move that the work item be noted with the items that we've added. Is that agreed? Thank you, members. Item number 13, AMPR. As there are no county councillors in attendance for this item, questions from the board will then be recorded and sent to the relevant officer for a response at a later date. Does anyone have any questions? Councillor Jeffrey.
Just a date would be useful on this paper. A date for delivery on item 13.
My expectation was that a date would be today, but certainly we would, if we can get information to members between now and the next JTB, I will do so. Are there any other questions to the board? Agreed. Item 14. Oh, is that noted? Item 14, Maidstone Highways Work Programme. Rebecca Bailey, Highways Manager, is in attendance should any members have questions. Are there any questions on the Highways Works Programme? Councillor Springer.
Thank you. On page 19, I'm really pleased to see that the installation of a pedestrian island outside the Tudor Park Hotel is coming forward, and that they're looking at moving a bus stop and putting a bit of footpath in. So that's really, really good. I just wonder whether Rebecca is able to update us on where we are with the proposed speed limit change on the A20. I'm not sure when the consultation finished, But I do have issues with that proposed speed limit change, and I would like to ask if that is liable to come to JTB for a discussion, if Rebecca is aware or not. Thank you.
That will be being dealt with by our highway improvements team, so I can definitely get an update for you and get them to contact you with the deadlines as to when that is going to go to consultation.
Thank you. I think it's been out to consultation. I can't remember when it shut. So I just wondered whether the results of that consultation will come back to JTB. I have objected for specific reasons, so I'm hoping it will come to JTB so we can have a discussion. Thank you. If you can feed that back, that would be lovely. Thank you.
Of course.
Councillor Jeffrey.
Appendix B, the drainage parts on page 13. I've raised a number of probably half a dozen, maybe more, drainage issues over the last 3 months, and I've got a load more to come as well. But none of them appear here. So, and I know it's not specifically your remit as an officer, but it would be nice to see the stuff I'm raising appearing on the reports. How do I get it on here?
Are the inquiries that you're raising to do with cleansing?
Well, drains not working for whatever reason, long-term flooding and so forth on parts of the highway.
Okay, so what we provide on the report are schemed our drainage schemes, so they're usually our larger works. So we haven't previously included anything that would have been dealt with by our cleansing team, because of that would be quite a lot of information to provide on the report. Potentially, if it's identified that further works are required, that could then turn into a drainage scheme, which would then appear on the report. But I can, if you provide me with the inquiry numbers, I can have a look at them and just see what the status is on those.
Yeah, these are beyond pumping out the drain. There are a series of problems I've raised with Lewis and Jodie, I think, that haven't appeared on here, and I've had emails back from them, but I will send them on to you to make sure they're included. Thanks.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you. Councillor English.
I represent High Street Ward, and my fellow councillor Dinesh Kadkar has raised with Ian, who does the drainage issues, the continued problems with Old Tovel Road, where we have had continual blockages with the drains off and on for probably about 3 years now. It's been cleared out a couple of times, but that seems to work for a couple of weeks, but then it goes pear-shaped again. It's just what I've mentioned as drainage has come up. It seems to be a persistent and perennial issue.
Do you want to re-raise that as a highways ticket and we can take that offline?
I think Dinesh has just done that with
the
drainage section.
Okay, we can work with you on that offline, Rebecca.
Yeah.
I will also, I mentioned it earlier or outside of this meeting, but I'll also be giving you information on the gullies that require cleansing in Old Lewes Hill and also Welsh Street in Lewes. Are there any other questions for the works programme? Oh, sorry, Councillor Ash.
A very basic question. Highway officers talk about quarters. When do they run? Is it calendar year, financial year, election years? So would quarter one be January, February, March? Or April, May, June, or May, June, July, or whatever?
It would usually be our financial year from so first quarter would start in April, but it would be dependent on the subject, because it may be to do, it depends on what it would be. So if we were talking about certain data, we may be talking about calendar year, but usually and generally it's financial year.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions on the work programme? I move that the Highways work programme be noted. Is that agreed?
thank Rebecca and Barbara for their very much appreciated input to this meeting. It makes a lot of difference.
I would fully endorse that, and I'm sure the board would back that up. Thanks very much for your efforts, Barbara and Rebecca. Right, I declare this meeting closed.